Have you ever wondered what might change if you treated yourself like you do your clients and customers? What if the same care, strategy, and attention you give to others, you directed back to yourself? On today's episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast, I'm joined by someone I deeply admire, Debra Rizzi. Debra is an award-winning entrepreneur, co-founder, and president of a leading marketing organization, Rizzi. She's a mentor, a board member. So many titles she has, and she is also a breast cancer survivor. She shares openly about imposter syndrome, resilience, survivorship, and what it looks like to navigate life and leadership while learning to treat yourself like a client. To learn more about Deb and her incredible work, visit Rizzi.com, where you'll find brand-led marketing that is designed to matter. Before we dive in, don't forget to save the date for the International Changemakers Forum on October 23rd via Zoom. Subscribe to the Today's the Day Changemakers YouTube channel, because the more subscribers we have, the more these incredible stories can be heard and the more we can all learn from each other. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Today is the Day. Live it for updates and more inspiration. And go to todayisthedayliveit.com for more information about the forum and all things related to Today is the Day. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Today's the Day Changemakers podcast. I'm your host, Jody Grinwald, and as I say in every single episode, I interview the changemakers, the inspirers, and those who are disrupting the status quo in the best way possible. And today I have Debra Rizzi with me. Hi, Deb.
Hello, Jody. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited because most times I don't always know the person I'm interviewing, right? So I know them, I've listened to their story, I've heard them, and they are so deserving to be here. But what's so awesome is that now I know you for some time. You've become such a friend, and I'm grateful to know you. So to be able to share the work you're doing with the world makes me so happy.
Aw, thank you so much. Our friend anniversary is coming up, actually, August 23rd, 2 years. Can you believe that?
No, and oh my God, I feel so bad. I didn't even realize we had, wait, I'm writing that down, everybody. August 23rd. Anybody wants to wish us a happy anniversary, feel free when that happens.
Come on board.
Exactly. Aw, thanks, Deb. I'm so glad. Now I know that. I'm putting that in my calendar. But I'm going to share a little bit about this incredible human. Deb Rizzi is the president and partner of Rizzi. Rizzi is a woman-owned, brand-led marketing agency based in wonderful New Jersey, and they're celebrating 25 years of helping organizations build purposeful brands that drive engagement and results. With almost 30 years of experience, no way, you can't be that old to have 30 years of experience, in brand strategy, marketing, and corporate communications. Debra is a dynamic leader, speaker, and advocate for businesses and communities alike. She has so many accolades. I'm going to mention a few here. NJ Biz's 50 Best Women in Business, the Empowering Woman Award, and NJ Biz's 40 Under 40 Award recognizing top young business leaders in New Jersey. And beyond Rizzi, Debra is passionate community leader, serving on the board of New Jersey Chamber of Commerce as co-president of the Wall Business and Finance Academy, and on other numerous boards. And she's an incredible mentor. At the heart of Debra's leadership is a belief that marketing should matter not just to business success, but to the people, communities, and causes it teaches. And you have an incredible husband who is with you in the business, right? Together, creating an agency that blends strategy, design, and execution to deliver measurable impact. So there's lots more in this nice long bio that I would love to read the whole thing, but we're going to talk about it instead. Sound good?
That is great. Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know why I got tongue twisted, but you know what? We're all human, and that's what happens, right?
I love that. Of course.
Do it. And
showing the human side, 200%.
We just keep going. That's what we do. Deb, I do this with all of my guests because I always like to kind of find the evolution of the human, because we never are where we are now is never where we began, and we evolve. Tell us about little Debra and who she was back then as a little girl.
So you want to peel the onion, as they say.
I'm peeling.
So we'll go back to Little Debbie cakes. That's I used, in elementary school, I used to get made fun of in that sense. It's like, oh, little Debbie cake, come here. But no, proudly grew up in Rahway, New Jersey. My parents are both educators. My mom actually worked for the Rahway school system, and my dad was a high school history teacher at John F. Kennedy High School. So education was the foundation from the start, from birth, in our home. And my parents, knock on wood, they are still with me today, and I am so fortunate. I'm not allowed to say their ages, but very fortunate to still have them in my life. As far as the start, though, I was a gymnast. Gymnastics was my foundation. And so at a very young age, tumbling around and being upside down more so, we stand on our hands. And, was in the gym for a large portion of my childhood up until I was 15. So, very competitive. And, intermixed in there, was, brownies and Girl Scouts, which of course was the foundation of learning to give back. Very faith-filled. And I did graduate from Rahway High School and was involved in multiple different, sports and associations as well. So that give back was foundational and pivotal, not only from my parents, but also through my schooling and just being actively engaged in things like diving and, swimming and diving, cheerleading, volleyball, student government, editor of the yearbook, though all of those different facets so that, you're getting exposed to different types of people and being able to give back.
Well, that sounds extremely well-rounded for sure. But I'm going to ask what most of the listeners are probably wondering. Can you still do a handstand? Can you still stand on your hands?
I can. And after a recent surgery, I finally got back on my hands and I was like, okay, I need a little bit more PT on that, but that was mandatory. I needed to be able to get back on my hands. It's a great stress reliever. I'm telling you, Jody, even if you have to kick up on a wall, the blood goes to your head. It helps with clarity. Just, it's a really great break. So, and it's fun also too, like when you go vacation somewhere, when you're with your kids, you're like, because all my children, I still have one in gymnastics, and the other two were previous gymnasts. It's always like, okay, let's do a handstand. Let's take a photo in front of an aquarium or on the beach somewhere. So, yep,
That's awesome.
family doing handstands. Here we go.
Now, what about your husband? Can he do a handstand too?
In the water, he'll do it in the
There
water.
you go. There you go. That's good.
He
That's good.
tries. It's a little awkward, but hey, we're
Listen,
not
he's fine.
judging. We're not judging.
No, no, no signs. 10, 10, 10 going on.
Dad, dad.
But that's incredible. And what a great way also connect with your kids. And they took forward your passion. Hobbies. As you were talking, I was thinking to myself, like when we're little, that's what we go for, right? That hobby, that piece that connects with us. And then
Mhm.
as we get older, right, we have to adult and the hobbies start to dwindle down. Have you seen that happen in your life? And how do you keep them connect? Do you can stay connected somehow besides your children for you specifically?
Yeah, definitely. You lose them and then they creep back. And I can say that in two different ways. So, number one, I always loved art. And I wound up going to Bucknell University, which is a liberal arts education. And if I could go back, I probably should have gone to art school because eventually I went full circle anyway. Got a business and art history degree. And, the art history then rolled over into the brand development and the marketing. And so that totally has gone full circle of loving art, loving the creative aspect, and now, owning an agency, which I would have never guessed back then. The second thing is definitely gymnastics. Through my children going back into the gym, it refostered my love of the sport. So 13 years ago, I wound up getting recertified, certified as a gymnastics judge, and I still am today. So my staff always laughs at me because, they see the high school season come in and I really don't take a lot of time off during the year, but I do take it during high school gymnastics season. So usually judging high school gymnastics 2 to 3 days a week, and that's a September to end of October commitment. And parents will see me and they're like, I know you. Are you a gymnastics judge? I'm like, I am. So I do it for not only high school, but also USA Gymnastics, which is our funnel into the Olympics and collegiate sports, and yoga, which is more so here, New Jersey based rules. It is an incredible way to reconnect with something that you love, but also with the kids. Because as you know, it's a high pressure sport. And the last thing that they typically do before they compete is they come over and they present to the judge. So that is your last moment to give them hope, inspiration, change their mindset, give them that inkling, just to change if something bad has happened in that warm up, to make them laugh and relax a little bit and know that we're only here to support them. So I truly, as you can see, I'm very passionate about the sport, and I've been able to carry out that part in a different way of my life.
I can absolutely feel and see that. And what came to me while you were talking about that, you're one of the busiest people I know, right? I know
Oh
that.
boy.
I know that because I know we were trying to get this podcast on the calendar for quite some time. But I know that just because of who you are and all that you do. But those who are listening and hearing you say during September to October, I make it this is what I do. This is what I do, right? This is my passion. This is what I do. I know a time in my life when I was doing 60 to 80-hour work weeks, and I would hear people say, "Oh, you need to go to the gym, read the book, do the da, da, da." And I always just say, "I don't have the time. I don't have the time." How can you tell people that they can find the time? You find the time to make sure that in your calendar, September to October, this is what you're doing. You put your foot down and you say it. You give yourself permission to do that. What is your, and women are so, I don't want to separate the genders at all, but I do feel like we are hard on ourselves because we are right?
This is why we connected like out of the gate. It was a go, go, go and do. And it's like, okay, whew, okay, you need to find that time, or both of us have experienced, or your body tells you that it's time because you run up into a roadblock of having a health issue or a health crisis that puts a pause on that. And I'm still working on it. There isn't a secret solution on that. And I truly admire the people that are like, okay, I get up at 5 and I go for a walk and I drink my water with lemon, and it's boom, 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 boom.
Right,
Number one, I don't operate like that. Number two, being, owning a marketing agency, it's rigorous. So the two things that I can say is the most recent advice is priorities. You have to set your priorities, but I always say to my staff, you have to treat yourself like a client.
right.
And that's how we get Rizco's marketing done, and that's how I get my things done. You have to block it out on your calendar and treat yourself like a client. So it's like, okay, from this time to this time, I have a gymnastics meet. It's 2 hours, it's blocked, you go. So that is where people like you and I, we have to prioritize and we have to treat ourselves like a client. Are you finding that, the 60 to 80 have come down a little bit, and
They have.
you're doing the same, or, I'm kicking that question right back at you.
I see that. Thank you. The interviewee is interviewing the interviewer.
Get
Um,
ready for it.
I love it. This is why I said there's no script. This is what the best part of this is there are days that I do give myself permission, and I don't feel so guilty for it anymore because I know I paid my dues. I know that now, as you talked about our bodies,
Hmm.
my body doesn't let me. Unfortunately a stop point where the creativity and the brain will not allow me to be my best. And I've decided that when I'm not my best, that I should not push myself because then when I look back at that work, I'm redoing it anyway.
Right. Hmm.
So what's the point of just giving half yourself. And I'm still learning that. And even days when I'll have podcasts or I'll have meetings. I've now, and people look at me like, I'll be like, you know what? I'll wake up and I'll say, I'm not going to be able to put my best foot forward. I'm not waking up feeling that connected. And I can push through
Hmm.
with a smile, but my body and mind are not connected. Something's disconnected. It's not something I can do every week. It's not something I do every day, but I will allow myself permission every once in a while to say, I need to reschedule those things.
All right. That was my next question is like giving yourself permission without guilt
Yeah, I need to reschedule those
to
things.
reschedule.
And I do them. And so when I do some trainings, I'll talk about, reinventing the nose and kind of having to change paths. And people are like, I can't tell somebody that I need to reschedule. I said, with professionalism, if you're going to come to that meeting and you're not going to be able to close the deal, if there's a deal in place, why would you put yourself in a situation where you're going to get less than what could be on the table?
Correct.
And so with that being said, I think that it's very important that we listen to ourselves and our bodies. But I want to go
Hmm.
back to something you said before. I wanted to ask you, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh gosh. I wanted to be in hotel management.
That's a whole different, that is totally a whole different.
Totally, totally different. And I was thinking about something today because I have heels on. I absolutely love heels. It's sort of an addiction. Love
Same.
heels.
Oh my God, me too.
Love.
Even
Most
on my
people are
days
like,
off.
ah,
Even on my days off, I love heels.
love heels. And as a child, my mom had these fabulous silver pumps. And I would play dress up and would play like sort of like pseudo businesswoman. And she kept saying to me, I kept leaving them out. And so she put her foot down. She's like, if you leave them out again, they're going in the garbage. And they did. And here I am, 5'8", I'm not a short woman. I'm 5'8", and like, I now have that permission. As soon as I got into the business world, I'm like, I'm all heels. They're not going in the garbage. I have access to them. So, sometimes I will show up in 3-inch heels at an event. It makes you feel good.
It sure does. It sure does make you
So,
feel good. And I love that. And that's how I feel too. Those heels, they make you feel, I don't know what it is. There's something about
elevated. It pulls you up and you have your balance and you're like, okay, I'm ready. There's something about readiness. So how you get from pumps to hotel management to marketing, uh, you know, who knows? You wish we had the crystal ball to
yeah.
uh to
Yeah.
point to let us know where the next direction is going. It's just the thing is being open to the world and those people that come into your life and listening and learning and letting them guide you in a different direction. And that might even happen after this call today. Who knows?
You know what? And that I know. I've been pulled in so many different directions that I never, where I am right now in this podcast, I mean, who would have ever thought I was the kid hiding under the table at, the desk or wanted to, when the teacher would call on someone. I'm like, please, you don't see me.
You?
Me.
How
Nobody would
did you
believe it.
break out of that? That is not you.
It isn't that crazy? But work nonprofit, and really helped me because I really didn't have much of a voice back then. I was so afraid of judgment. And as I've gotten older, I'm really learning that imposter syndrome for so many
Oh,
forward-facing people is so real.
it is ridiculously real. And when you say it, people look at you like, really? Like, absolutely, all the way through. And it's interesting because my networking group and professional development group through TAB, that came up as a topic was imposter syndrome. And there was a different in dynamic between male and female. And so, you know, the coach says, hey, who knows about what this is? And the males are like, I've never heard of this. And the two females in the room are like, yes, we know, we definitely know. And as we were educated, everybody's like, yes, when you peel it back, we all carry some kind of imposter syndrome underneath it all, but we just don't talk about it. And it's definitely there. I have to say, even board positions wind up being my avenue for growth. And that is the way that I push myself to surround myself with people that are better than me, smarter than me, put myself in a unique situation. And that entry point is like, whew, okay. Like, all right, let's go in and let's listen, let's learn, let's see where we can make an impact. And because I know that you're similar to me in this sense, it's like, okay, well, how am I going to make an impact and how am I going to make a difference? That in your mind, you want to have that answer right from the beginning. And you typically don't. You just have to pause and go slowly, surround, listen, learn, and then you find those little pockets of where you can insert yourself for growth. But I'm going to be straight that especially each one of those new leadership positions brings on a layer of angst of, okay, what am I going to offer? What can I do? Am I going to make a difference? And the questioning that goes on in your head.
Oh,
So, do you
okay.
do the same thing?
Oh my God, so many limiting beliefs when it comes to that. And when I went back to school for coaching, I realized one of my biggest ones was I was always in the room with people who had master's degrees or bachelor's degrees, and I didn't finish, right? So I had to work that much harder in every position. I had to be approved by the national office when I worked at American Lung. You had to have a bachelor's degree. I had to be approved by American Heart in order to work there. I had to have a degree. So instead of looking at it like, wow, they're accepting me without the degree, I looked at it like I've got to work 10 million times harder and more hours so I could prove my value and my worth until I decided, you know what? I'm I moved up the ladder quicker than some of those. And then I wound up doing sales trainings for the national team, and they had master's degrees. So I decided that I am so for education and I believe deeply in it. But doesn't make you less of a person if it just doesn't fit. You don't fit that mold. So you
Mhm.
can choose to allow yourself to have those limiting beliefs. And I'm not saying it's easy to get over them. And like you are every time but you're invited to the table. See, that's the beauty. You're invited to the table,
Mhm.
right? Somebody is saying to you, you belong here.
Mhm.
Now you have to believe it yourself, right? And
Yep.
how do you do that? How long does it take you to do that when you're feeling that angst?
It's not systematic, and you have a different group of people at the table in each one of those situations. Even with my own university, I wound up being on the alumni board for 8 years. And that first time that you walk into a room with 50 alum that are from all different generations, backgrounds, decades, accomplished.
Coming soon is the Changemakers Connective, a global community built for entrepreneurs, leaders, and purpose-driven visionaries. This isn't just another membership. This is a movement, a curated space where purpose grows legs, progress picks up speed, and action becomes inevitable. Whether you're scaling a business, running a nonprofit, launching a bold new idea, or navigating the messy middle of life and change, the Connective is your place to align your purpose, connect beyond borders, and lead with courageous innovation. And here's what makes it truly unique. By helping others make connections, you also create opportunities to grow your own revenue, all while gaining mentorship, expanding your business, and supporting nonprofits. And here's the exciting part. Your marketing dollars now have the opportunity to stretch further than ever before. From this podcast to the upcoming International Changemakers Forum, save the date, October 23rd, to the new Changemakers Connective. Whether your work is local or global, recognition through these platforms combined with a commercial about your organization can amplify your visibility and expand your reach. We will work with you to customize packages that meet your needs and your budget so you can get the maximum value for your investment. Learn more and join the movement by visiting todayisthedayliveit.com. Have to let everybody know we just had a glitch in the Zoom. And what is so Deb and I spoke about this before. Deb is all about the pre-planning. She is a dot and the I cross the T type person. And out of all the people's Zooms that this could happen to, I didn't want this to happen to Deb, but it did. And here's the good news. We survived. We're okay. And I'm
We
grateful.
did. We
And I'm so
did. So we were saying we were going to learn something new from this through this conversation. It's like, yes, okay.
We did.
As soon as you learn that you're not in control, we're all in a better place, right?
And the internet does whatever it wants to do, and Zoom likes to have glitches every once in a while. But the one thing I want to always teach people on this podcast is we're human beings, we're not machines, and things are allowed to happen, and the world doesn't come apart, and we don't look. And I think this is perfect time that it did in the conversation. We're talking about that imposter syndrome.
Yep.
And so if mistakes happen, you even feel more of an imposter, right? When that
Mhm.
happens, you're like, oh no. Um, but we're not imposters. We're just human beings.
Human beings. Absolutely.
Yeah. And we
And the
bring
more that we say that out loud, for especially the younger generation, because they do look at us and they look up to us. Um, but the ladder goes both ways. You go up and it goes down, and they don't realize that we learn a lot from them as well. And that's probably why we spend so much time around our youth. It's because it makes us stronger and more adaptable for what's coming in the future. But as far as role models are concerned, it goes both ways. So the more that we say it out loud, it makes it more realistic for
it
those.
truly does. And I agree with you that my mentors can be older, younger, doesn't matter, male, female. I think we all, mentorship is so important. And I know that you love being a mentor to others.
I do. And our company, it's not just me, it's also our whole staff. So, it's been over a decade that we've welcomed students into our company and have let them shadow, let them intern. We have two right now in-house. Um, and then also to the charitable work that is done not only by me but the rest of the staff as well. Like Michelle, who is the best form of glue and is our VP of Ops, has been with us for over 13 years. She's very dedicated to her church. One of my other senior designers is an ambassador for Love One International, which is, a nonprofit that supports children in Uganda. So it's not just me, it's the people that you surround yourself with, and knowing that you can't get where you are without the help of others. And because other people did that for us, that's just ingrained in our culture. And I watch my staff as well just get involved and put themselves out there and make sure that we're giving back because others did it for us previously.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's a good segue for me wanting to talk about Rizco because, we have other people that want to take the leap of faith, become an entrepreneur, other people who are listening who are entrepreneurs. And it's not an easy game. It's just not.
No.
So
Mm,
talk to us about taking the leap of faith, how you did it, why you did it, and give us a little bit about Rizco.
Sure. So 25 years, and my husband and I met when we were at the agency. I worked for a large public relations firm, Porter Novelli, and he was brought in as our senior designer. We work long hours. We work very long hours. It's like dog years, but I wouldn't change anything because the professionalism and the training that I got in that 3 year format, I learned how to run a business within a business. So I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today. But my husband and I, at that time, we wound up starting Date to Date, and our business was actually launched out of family tragedy. His dad became paralyzed one day, and his dad owned Joe Rizzi Associates, which was a production company that supported a lot of other large agencies. So back in the day, newspapers were our largest communication platform. So the agency would design the work, he would reformat in all the different sizes, and then redistribute it out to the newspapers. When he fell ill, Keith jumped over from the agency to help support his dad's firm. I was interviewing with other companies, and he said, "Can you come and help me run this?" Because he's the creative and I'm the business. So you don't realize that, when you're working in an agency setting and you're supporting over 200 employees that are in all different businesses, they move on to other agencies that didn't have creative. So word got out that we had started our own firm, which eventually we did develop Rizco underneath his dad's business when we were in New York City. we naturally and organically all of a sudden had a client base. And so that's where you see that the foundation of relationships, what you put out for other people and staying in touch and being good and being a good communicator, all those foundational tools started in the agency and then it transferred over into our biz. We wound up, folding his dad's biz in '04, and Rizco became its own entity in New Jersey here when I got pregnant with my first child. So, here we are today, 25 years later, with a lot of evolution. We really started out as like a brand and web agency, and then 2010 developed a proprietary process that's now today our audit process. So as a brand agency, audit and research is a huge part of what we do. It's not just the visual, it's digging into the data. And now today we stand as a full service agency, so brand, web, and digital marketing. It isn't easy, Jody. And, a lot of people, the lens on the outside is different from what you go through on the inside. I haven't been working for a large corporation with a huge 401k and bonuses every single year. Or you go through an economic downturn like 2008, where the bottom completely falls out. Or COVID, where you're forced to take on loans, which we still have today to keep your business alive and make sure that your staff can stay on. So it is not an easy business, constantly learning, constantly growing, thankful still because what we do is so important and the lives that we touch and the businesses that we grow. But being an entrepreneur, you have to you have to be willing to be selfless in a sense and know that you're going to pay your employees before you pay yourself. There are times that you're going to have to take on debt that maybe you didn't want to. Um, but there is a flexibility and the permission to do and transform ourselves that you can't get in any other position. So, I've been able to do that. I have 3 children and being able to experience their lives. And I call them the best creative project I've ever worked on because they're all different and they're constantly growing and changing. But being an entrepreneur has given me that flexibility to be present, be a mother, see the important things. But also, too, as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to have the grit and the willingness to put the time in. You have to put the time in. So, I welcome it because that's what I know for the past 25 years. I know that you're going through this same thing as you've had jobs and then you've always had this entrepreneurial spirit where you have other things and other businesses and your own nonprofit that you're giving back to. So, I welcome your feedback too on being an entrepreneur.
It's hard. It's a very elementary thing to say, but it's hard. But there's also this piece that I have found, and I am on a mission when it comes to this. And even with starting the nonprofit, is that those of us who are entrepreneurs just starting out without the teams, right? You don't have the staff. When I was working for the large big box nonprofits that had big names, people recognized it. And when I handed out my card that said VP or CEO or executive director, the respect in that, because of
Mhm.
the big name, was very different than when I handed out my card that was about myself. You could see, or, oh, I never heard of the Applauder Kids Foundation. Oh, what is that? And then if I mentioned, well, I started that in honor of my dad, right away it became kind of like the baseball team type of thing. You know what I'm saying? It didn't have impact. And I think with entrepreneurs, what happens is people don't realize we don't start with best practices. We don't have timelines. We don't have any history. We took a leap of faith with a tremendous amount of courage to do something to fulfill ourselves and help our families. But the respect when you hand over that business card, if I handed out the same 2 different business cards at the same event, I'd get the same different reaction from the same person.
Mhm. Yes, and this is where personal branding comes in. The importance of personal brands. And we talk about this even with 16-year-olds within the Wall Business and Finance Academy of your personal brand and how it grows. So as the entrepreneur, it's not just the brand that you're developing your own personal brand so that your name is known. Because as you said, you're not the VP of the larger organization seems to have more weight than the CEO of your own personal mission.
Yeah.
So you're navigating not only one business, but it's really two. It's your own personal brand and also the brand of the organization, so the two can flourish together.
Yeah. So yes, I'm speaking to the person who is the expert on exactly how to get this out. No, but this is good, and people need to hear this. This is
Right.
important stuff,
Mhm.
right? Because you're 100% right. I even myself don't always look at it that way, right? It's that
Mhm.
personal brand and then today's the day brand, right?
Yep.
And I'm always putting it into one envelope and it's not.
It's not. It isn't because as you go into those different social circles, sometimes the business brand isn't relevant, but for you personally, it's relevant because that might be the next person you're interviewing or who has taught you something or potentially maybe down the road could be one of your sponsors, your donors. We don't know that.
No.
But you're trying to grow as a human being at the same time that you're trying to grow this other baby. It's parent-child. It's completely, when you think about it, it's parent-child. Um,
I
and
love
you do
that.
have to find time to continue to nurture the parent to make
Right?
that the child grows in the way that you want it to.
So you've got an entrepreneur listening right now, right? And what advice do you give to them? You said about, growing your own personal brand. What's the first step to doing that?
As far as the personal brand aspect of it, um, number one, you have to determine what your core values are, and you have to live by them. I mean, it is so true. You can't be one thing today and the other thing tomorrow, and they lay the groundwork for what you want to be or what you want to become reviewed at in the future. It's the same thing as a normal branding exercise of looking at those people that you value, those people that you might want to aspire to be, what do they stand for, establishing what those core values are, and then creating your marketing plan against that. LinkedIn, yes, 100%. That top banner that's above our photo is a billboard right away. And you see a lot of times, a lot of executives do not have something up there in that billboard in your own personal space.
I may be one of them. I'm now thinking about my LinkedIn.
You're like, wow, do I have,
Wait a minute. Yeah. And that's a simple thing.
simple, it's a simple thing. And then also, the liking, the sharing, the connecting, building up your own profile. And we forget about this too, because, the long run is to build our business.
Hmm.
And we even went through this exercise just internally from our own sales process. We connect, 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 but then you forget that you have 3,000 to 5,000 connections. So when was the last time you downloaded your connections and just went through the list and said, oh, I haven't talked to that one, or that one is
I'm
right?
guilty.
uh, Guilty. We just went through this, and it's like there are a lot of people that I love that inspire me that I just haven't talked to, or it can be on multiple different areas where you just connected with them once and you should be continuing the conversation. So I would always start with number one, making sure you have the core values. Number two, nurture your LinkedIn network because it's there, it's accessible, and you already probably have a foundation for it. And then look at where you want to spread out. And that's where I find that the associations really play a huge role. Like MODC is what connected us. I have found my posse of women that have so many gifts, they came from MODC, Monmouth Ocean Development Council. Whether some are members now or not, but what a gift in life to be able to get a solid 10 to 12 friends that all have superpowers that are
Hmm.
in your world today. So that's where, the associations as far as education, connectivity, and finding your people, sometimes it takes time. to really find which one fits. But
Exactly. Exactly.
um,
It does. And it does take time because each one has their own culture.
yes.
And it's important that don't give up, for those who are listening, if you've gone to one association and you're like, this is not for me, don't give up because that's just it's not your people. There's a couple that I ran MODC for a short time and I loved it. And I did meet incredible humans like you. If that's what came out of that wonderful experience is these incredible connections and friends I've made. I loved helping and connecting those people and meeting people like yourself. But again, for those listening, it really is about finding who your people are.
Yep. And not being afraid like to dabble. It's okay to dabble. Like, all right, well, this one doesn't work. All right, that doesn't, don't give up on that. I can say wholeheartedly, like Jill Nappy is my VP of sales and professional women in construction. Like that, she
Oh,
found her people. Those are her people. And because of that, you've seen a transformation just in her leadership, her aura, the people she's talking to. So to our point about finding your place, 100%. Like it's okay to dabble, it's okay to walk away, but the associations are definitely a gold mine as far as the connectivity, growing your business, your professional development, and then also finding your people.
what I will also say is what I've always said and what I'm training on too is if you can only join a certain amount of places, do a local, a regional, a state, and a global. Now
Mm.
you've got it all. You've got all
Well,
four.
you are the global. Check, check. So
Yes,
you
join the
covered
global.
all of them, but because usually the global is more difficult to find. So you are fostering that global. Check all four. There you go, Jody. Just see Jody.
The global, you wouldn't think, and I said this to you before, Deb, is that you wouldn't think that, oh, stay in my sphere, which is important because you can go physically be with people. But there's so much to learn from people on a global level that I didn't even know until I started this. So I highly recommend, and Deb's now a part of that and helping with the International Forum. And and you're meeting people that are still even in our state that you didn't meet before, like Fred.
Yes.
So
Incredible, incredible conversations, open conversations. Yes, the master connector that you are.
no, I have special people, special heart-centered people. But I want to go back to something that you said earlier, too, and that's really important that we cover in this podcast, is that you talked about the fact that if we don't listen to our bodies, right? We can join all the places, we can run around all over the place, we can, and we talked about finding the time to put
Mm.
aside for the things that you totally enjoy. And that's a decision. That's a decision. You have to make that as a
Yes.
decision. But when something did happen that I hope you're okay with sharing, that did happen when you didn't listen to maybe some of the things. But we don't know that that's the case. We just think that maybe that's the reason, right? That
Yep. Yep.
can you share?
Sure. So I'm a breast cancer survivor. I get to say that. I'm a warrior. Have a fun bracelet from Dawn Doherty, who is from the Society for the Prevention of Teen Suicide. She and I have gone through this process. She's still fighting, but I carry her on my wrist every
Love
single
Dawn.
day. And it stands for F cancer because we are going to F cancer.
Yes.
That is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I was diagnosed 2 Septembers ago, in September of 23, and wound up having a double mastectomy in December, and then moved forward with reconstruction last April. So I'm just coming up on 1 year of post-surgery. And I do have an autoimmune disease and there are flare-ups and I had a lot going. There was a lot of disruption going on between family and work. Which one of the warning signs was I lost 30% of my hair on one side of my head. But like the nervousness and I missed an appointment. It was a busy time. I wound up missing my mammo. And as soon as both of my girls went back to college in September, I was like, okay, I'm going to find a new doc and I'm going to get caught up on everything. I had felt something in my breast, but it just felt like it was a block land. It it didn't feel like it was something serious. It was pretty humbling to go through, the diagnosis process. Going in, it's like, all right, you're going in for the memo. Okay, come in. Let's let's take three different angles, and then now let's go in for an ultrasound, and then to have the doctor come in and say, you have cancer, just flat out. And I'm like, 1 to 10, like you have cancer, and your life flashes before your eyes. You're like, wow, like, okay. And of course, your brain goes to, oh my gosh, okay, what are the most important things in my life and how much time do I have with my family? So all of the other minutia, while it is so important, and the business and the work, I hate this word stuff, but I am going to use it in this example, it became irrelevant in that moment. I had the best team ever. Griffith and Kamal were my surgeon and my reconstructive surgeons. And I wound up having to take 2 months off for the first surgery and another one for the second. And this is the key learning here is number one, you can unplug. Number two, your family is everything. I mean, my husband was a rock. He was like, we're going to beat this like we beat everything else. And my children were, they were there. They were there. And then my staff, I cannot leave out my staff because my staff is my extended family. They're like, okay, we are going to set up a network. Nobody's allowed to get to you. Pick your people. These are your people that create your web. We will give them the information. They will disseminate it out. And during that time, I just got to heal and have great food and fuel my brain and meditate and do all of those things that people talk about and come out on the back end healthy. I felt great after that point in time. Yes, there's pain. It is like childbirth. You can't remember it because you would never do it again. Not that you would ever want to go through another surgery again, but they are painful surgeries, but your brain just it shoves it in a different part, a different crevice so that you really can't remember it. But it was a time of reflection and learning and growing and reprioritizing. And I still don't have the answer of what that reprioritization is, what's supposed to come on the back end of it. But the truth is that we aren't resilient, or we do need our bodies. You do have to take care of yourself. And you also have to listen to the warning signs. And I had a lot of warning signs of things that I probably should have taken care of sooner. But I'm very fortunate to be on the back end. My reoccurrence rate is tiny, but I do feel that there is a need to pay it forward. Pay it forward. So I talk about this. I talk about not making sure that you're taking care of yourself. Do not skip your appointments, and also priorities. Less can be more. Less can be more.
It is, and just beautiful. And I know you had an incredible array of people who were helping you. And Jill Nappy, she was the security guard.
It was That is so true. And she had the wisdom to say that. She's like, people are going to want to get at you, and you will not. I know you. You're going to want to email and call everybody back because that's you. And now you're not allowed to do that. She was the bodyguard. She's like, you give me the information and I will let everybody know, but you need time to heal. And that was crazy good advice. Crazy good advice. So, and I was able to pay that forward to somebody else who went through a surgery and was in the same situation.
You did, and of course, I'm going to talk about this because I have.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Mhm.
So I had to have a surgery, which was not a fun surgery at all either. It wasn't cancer, and so I know, I can't compare it to that because there's nothing like that kind of a diagnosis, and so I never do. And not that I think one person's thing is worse than another person's, but we all go through our own journey. But a diagnosis like that is different.
You
But
had
I
a
did.
heavy diagnosis too.
Well,
So, yeah, do not sugarcoat. It's a pause. It's a pause point. That's for
was
sure.
it was, and it's something women don't talk about much. It was a hysterectomy, and I really haven't announced it openly, but I want to talk about it, and I want to talk about it more, even on the podcast, but because we don't talk about it much. But it was a have to surgery, and during that time, I was running an organization and the nonprofit, and Deb and I didn't know each other very long, not at all. And then when Deb heard I had to go through the surgery, I'll never forget. I called you the day before, or I was you no, you reached out and you asked me how are you
Yes.
feeling,
Yep.
and I said I'm struggling today because I knew what I was about to endure. I no, I should say I thought I knew what I was about to endure,
Mm.
and and then you got on the phone with me right away. And you took time out of your very, very busy day in life. And we got on the phone and you were just so encouraging and uplifting. And I remember I was in the parking lot of the MODC when I had that phone call with you. And I remember leaving thinking, okay, you know what? I feel supported. I feel like we've got this
I've
and
got this.
we've got this. And then I went in for my surgery, which wound up being from one hip to the other, full on. And when I arrived home a couple days later, there was an incredible welcome on my porch of a ice bucket, a cooler, balloons, a huge card that was signed at one of the luncheons, and which was unbelievable to me, which I still have. And every night, people, would get so much food. We didn't know what to do with, but it was not just for me, it was for my caregivers. It was again, people, you put in so much work to make it happen. You got donations from people to make sure that I was covered for a week, 2 weeks. I don't even, it felt like a long time. It was like they kept coming. And it was just the most incredible thing that my in-laws were like, somebody's got to really like you because this you got to have done something right. I've never seen anybody so supported. And it was all because of you. Yet we didn't know each other very long. So the impact that someone can make by doing just something just so unbelievably kind, taking that off my plate, not having to cook, checking in with me. You sent me you sent me a gift. It was just the thank you. I don't know that I could ever thank you for that feeling of support that you provided to me.
Well, I appreciate it. I can't take credit for it because, as you know, you are loved, you are supported, you do so much for others. I was just a facilitator. It was your community coming together to say, thank you. We care about you, we love you, and we want you to get better. And today, both of us are on this call better, moving, you know, there's still residual. That's the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is you carry that and you look okay on the outside, but it takes a long time to heal on the inside. But sometimes it's good to pause and then also reflect on those people that love you so much and they step up. They step up in your time of need when you least expect it. So, being part of your community and being able to return the favor, because so many did that for me, and that was my way of loving you and paying it forward. It's important. It's important. So
Well, I love you too, my friend. And I only wish that I was more of a support because I feel like I wasn't as much of a support. I mean, I kept checking in with Jill but I felt very, very guilty. And I'm just going to be honest. I did. I felt very, very guilty because there was more I could have done. And I'm thinking to myself, this woman doesn't even know me that well. And she has just embraced me and taken me under her wing. And my husband was like, oh my God, this food just keeps, and he was thrilled. He's so grateful because he never had to pick up a pot or a pan or anything. It was
it
awesome.
helps you heal. If the happy home, everybody's relaxed. Okay, we have a good meal. Like, it can pay its way forward. But that pausing is, I think, a key learning for all of us, in that it does come back. You don't think about it, and I don't think like, oh gosh, this one didn't. What shows up, you're grateful for, and we're surrounded, excuse me, by people who do care. And as we go through this business journey, business is about people, no matter what. It's about surrounding yourself with the right people, activating those people. And as we get older, we make choices of surrounding ourselves with those individuals that are going to inspire us and support us on the next level. And so it's okay sometimes that your community is getting smaller, You just prioritize
Yeah.
and then pick those that you want to spend time with.
100%. And we years and years ago, the old way of doing things was there wasn't really not any humanity in business, right? You can't feel, leave it at the door, don't bring it in. It's like you're a machine. You just feel nothing.
Mhm.
That's just not real anymore. It's just not real. Life is hard.
Mhm.
We celebrate the wins together, but we also need to work on the challenges together because we can get through them better and quicker and heal better. Both of us lost parts of ourselves in those surgeries. I mean, right?
Mhm. Absolutely.
I mean, and that lives within us and we handle it, and those who are listening, everybody handles it differently. So don't compare yourself to someone who would be through the same thing or a different thing. No, your journey is your journey, right? Like you said, you can't remember the pain. I totally can. I mean, it was the worst pain I ever experienced in my entire life. But here's the thing, we both took something away from that. We're stronger. We can help others. We can support others.
Mhm.
And I don't know that the journey ends because there's still going to be moments where we feel sad about it.
Mhm. Absolutely. And so, and I'm going to pivot this a tiny bit because it's important, and especially people who are listening, that they have the power as well to make change, not only within their families, but also, within the businesses that they're within, whether small, medium, large. Um, our company pivoted last year, and it came out of one of my employees bringing up the need for us to look at ourselves differently as staff members. And typically, you look at your annual plan and you're like, okay, who are we going to be making donations to? And we decided to take some of that money and work it on ourselves. So Rizco wound up doing a survey to get a pulse on our own staff. Where's your mental health? What's your physical health? Um, we found out like the numbers were like in the 60s where people felt, but when you ask the question about how does Risco support you on your personal journey and in business, that was in the 70s. And so you could see we had the power to help our own staff in a mental and physical way. So we took that as a benchmark. We wound up launching a program, and Alicia Shepard, who's one of my directors, came up with this program. It's called Movement. And the move aspect is it's mindfulness, opportunity, vibrancy, and encouragement. And that's what that stands for. And we now have classes every single quarter that talk about food, mood and food, and your gut being another brain. And the food that you put in it helps your output. Breathing exercises, permission to take breaks throughout the day, because you can't do, as you said, you can't do your best work if you're going, going, going. So that's an investment, and that's a big shift in our company, is talking about these things, that you need to raise a hand, and we're trying to give them, our staff, the education so they can feel better from a mental and a physical standpoint and do their best work. So,
I hope that those who are listening that have any staff will take a lesson here from Deb, because we live a life on cruise control in our lives and in our businesses, and
mhm.
we don't take a minute sometimes. I'm not saying everybody. I mean, lots of people do very good on the wellness side, but not everybody. And I don't care if it's you by yourself as an entrepreneur or you have a team of 500. It is important to connect with all the things that you just mentioned, how we eat, how we sleep. Sleep is very important, people. I know I used to not get much, but I'm trying to get back more on that.
Getting off of your phone at an earlier time, letting
Yes,
your brain decompress.
100%. And there's just so many things that I think our generation just kind of powered through.
Yes.
And we taught the kids, but they said, no, 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 they're not doing, we got to have balance. And then we started to say, oh, those people, those millennials, they want balance. We can't, wait, that's crazy. And then we're like, wait a minute, hold on. I want to jump on board on this. I missed the boat.
We talked about that ladder. You're like learning up and learning that. Yep, we're learning that aspect of, really, can't we have work-life balance? Yes, you want to make sure the productivity is there, but I hear it from my own children. Why is it my sport has to be my whole life? Oh, it doesn't have to be. Well, okay, well, how can we mix this? They have the confidence to poke the questions back at us to make us think in a different way because we're so programmed.
Oh, we are. My dad was my mentor, incredible. And he was always
Hmm.
about, 100%, give it 100%. You've got to work hard in order to get the results, and all of those kinds of things, and your work ethic. And work ethic didn't mean you had to be a workaholic.
Correct. Hmm.
So we have to find where on the spectrum we sit. Deb, I could talk to you for hours. We know this hours, but I really want to put in here in this spot right now. What do you want people to know about you, Rizco, life, anything? What is the message you want people to know from this podcast?
Um, whew, there are multiple layers in this. I've said this before, and I'm a true believer of it, is we don't get we where we are without the help of others. And people still fuel this very important process within life and learning. So being smart about the people that you surround yourself with and making sure that you're listening to the signals of yourself, but also where you want to go. Happiness comes in many forms, and a lot of times people focus on the wealth aspect. Um, wealth shows up in many different ways, and it's not just monetary. I find that the wealth in my life comes from the people, the passion, the give back, the smile that comes from being able to open a door or give somebody a meal or help them get into college, which I was able to work with a student on that of navigating a decision. And that just, it filled my heart. So I carry that. As far as Rizco is concerned, we're 25 years women owned. We plan on keeping on going. Everything that we do is designed for a purpose. And it's not just me, it is a team of ridiculously talented designers, thought leaders, creators who want to transform businesses and be accountable during that. So um, that's my spiel right now.
So how do people find you?
How do you find me? Well, number one for Rizco, it's rizco.com, Rizc as in cat, o.com. I'm on LinkedIn through just Debra Rizzi, and my email address is Debra, Debra, at rizco.com.
Awesome. There, like I said, we're gonna have to have you back because there were things we couldn't touch on, but we can go for 2, 3 hours, you and
Yeah.
I. We can have our own show without anybody else on it and just keep going every week and have a conversation. I'm grateful to you, my friend. I'm great. I've learned so much from you in such a short time, and you've just been such a great support, and I appreciate that. I want the world to know that. And thank you for all you gave me during my surgery, but also all that you're doing for other women. I think it's very important that women stand together. I think it's important that we lift each other up.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. And so that's why I think that we as women who do that need to continue to be the example and set the example in the world that we can lift each other up. We don't compete for things, we help each other.
No, no. And there's a lot to go around. I completely agree. We're here for each other. It's not a competition. We're supposed to be lifting each other up. And today is the day.
It is. It is. And today's the day we did this. We made it happen, Deb.
We made it happen. And I want to thank you too, because you continue to lift and your secret sauce is you always see something in somebody that they don't see in themselves. And I thank you for always doing that for me and other people. And that's why you are surrounded by just this incredible community that you share with others. So thank you for your time. And also too, I did look at Changemaker. And so by the definition, it's somebody who actively seeks to create positive change in their community, organization, or the world. And those adjectives are empathy, leadership, problem solving, resilience, and collaboration. So I just read the definition of you, Jody.
Oh my goodness. You didn't tell me I needed to bring tissues to the episode. Thank you. But I think you read the definition of yourself as well.
Well, thank you. I will try to aspire to that and
You're
continue
not
to aspire
aspiring.
to it.
You're there. You are so there, my friend, and I am grateful for every single one of you. Every change maker that I have miraculously met. I swear it's a miracle every time. And thank you, Deb, and you'll come back and give us updates.
I definitely will.
All right. And for those who are listening, as we move forward, there's a change makers connective coming out shortly, a global way to connect with each other that I cannot wait for. And also our International Changemakers Forum will be coming up soon. More to come on both. And a big announcement where several of the changemakers are coming together to do something really incredible. And we're looking forward to sharing that with you as well. And Deb, again, one more time, Rizco's website.
Rizco.com, Rizc as in cat, o.com.
Perfect, but nice and easy. Again, thank you to Debra Rizzi for being an incredible guest, an incredible friend, and an incredible change maker. And I'm going to say what I say at the end of every single podcast. Today is the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So what small or large steps are you going to take today to get yourself closer to your goals? Thank you again, and have a great week, everyone. Bye, Deb.
Thank you so much.
I am beyond excited to share this huge announcement, not just for me, but for everyone who has joined me on this journey. In January 2026, a once impossible dream, one I thought was impossible, actually becomes a reality. The release of the book, Today is the Day, Live It. Becoming an author has always been a bucket list item I never believed would happen. And now I not only get to step into that dream, but I get to do it alongside others who care deeply about making a difference. This book is the background of why I pressed record. One courageous decision created a ripple effect, connecting people who may never have met otherwise, and leading us here to pressing publish on something extraordinary. At its heart are 30 extraordinary change makers. Yes, they carry titles like TEDx speakers, entrepreneurs, leaders, nonprofit professionals, philanthropists, and even a humor historian. But the one title that unites them all is how they are heart-centered in the way they live and lead. And here's the truth. All of us are everyday change makers. This book is an invitation. It's an invitation to believe in the power of one voice, your own. So stay tuned for more information on when the book will be released. We can't wait to share more about the incredible authors who brought it to life, and soon the exact date we will press publish on. Go to todayisthedayliveit.com to learn more.